Good morning and welcome to the Ordinary Council meeting of Wednesday 20th of November 2024. In the spirit of open, accessible and transparent government, Berrigan Shire Council's meetings are audio recorded. By speaking at a council meeting, members of the public agree to being recorded. Berrigan Shire Council accepts no liability for any defamatory, discriminatory or offensive remarks or gestures that are made during the course of the council meeting. Opinions expressed or statements made by individuals are the opinions or statements of those individuals and do not imply any form of endorsement by Berrigan Shire Council. Confidential matters of council will not be video recorded. Recordings are protected by copyright and owned by Berrigan Shire Council. No part may be copied, recorded, reproduced or transmitted without the prior written consent of the CEO. Any recording is not and shall not be taken to be an official record of Berrigan Shire Council meetings or the discussion depicted therein. Only the official minutes may be relied upon as an official record of the meeting. An audio recording of the council meeting will be taken for administrative and minute preparation purposes only and is provided to the public for listening purposes to support council's statutory obligations. We acknowledge the original inhabitants whose country we are gathered on, and we pay respects to the elders past, present and future, and extend respect to all First Nations people. We have a statement of ethical obligations. In accordance with section 233A of the LGA, the Mayor and councillors are bound by the oath or affirmation of office made at the start of the council term to undertake their civic duties in the best interests of the people at Berrigan Shire Council. They must faithfully and impartially carry out functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in them under the LGA or any other act to the best of their ability and judgment. Disclosure of interests. Pursuant to the provisions of the LGA Act 1993, the Berrigan Shire Council Code of Meeting Practice and Berrigan Shire Code of Conduct, councillors are required to disclose and manage both pecuniary and non-pecuniary interests of any matter on the agenda for this meeting. In both cases, the nature of the interest must be disclosed. Okay, apologies and leave of absence. We have a leave of absence from Councillor Healy due to a family matter. Could I get someone to move that request?
Yep.
Councillor Natikoa and second and Councillor Payne, all in favour? Thank you, carried. Attendance via audio-visual link. We'll have Councillor Natikoa on video due to family reasons also. Do we have a mover for that? Councillor Brooker, seconder. Councillor Payne, all in favour? Thank you, carried. Confirmation of previous minutes. We have the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on Wednesday 16 October and the minutes of the extraordinary council meeting held on 21 October. Do we have a mover? Councillor Stringer, a seconder. Councillor Hannan, all in favour. Thank you, carried. Do we have any interests to be disclosed? No? Okay, thank you. We're on to item 6.1. which is a mayoral minute. And it's a recommendation from me that council support the ongoing advocacy of Albury City for the implementation of all recommendations and outputs of the Albury-Wodonga Health 2021 Clinical Services Plan. I note that link says draft, but it is the final plan. Any comments?
I'd like to raise a point of order if I could.
Sure.
Mayor. And it's regarding the urgency of this mayoral minute. 9.9 of the Code of Meeting Practice says a mayoral minute must not be used to put without notice matters that are routine or not urgent, or matters for which proper notice should be given because of their complexity. For the purpose of this clause, a matter will be urgent where it requests a decision by the council before the next scheduled ordinary meeting. I don't believe that with 160 pages in the services plan plus the agenda of this meeting today, the councillors have had proper opportunity to review the position of Albury as stated in the recommendation, and I haven't had the opportunity to have a look at the minutes of the RAMJ meeting to understand what Albury's advocacy position is. Furthermore, with both Albury and Wodonga declaring that their preference was a greenfield site, and in the service plan it only mentions a single site hospital, so I believe that a further report should come back to council for debate at a future meeting.
Right. I support a single site, that's what the plan says, but you don't want this matter to be, you don't believe it meets the Code of Conduct, so it should not be discussed at all.
I just think it's, I don't think the urgency of it is I don't think our council have had an opportunity to speak to their constituents to see what their position is around a greenfield site or a single site hospital in Albury-Wodonga. This is for the next 40 or 50 years of health in our region, and when you've got the two major cities that are directly involved pushing for a greenfield site, I'm not quite sure that by moving this recommendation it shows unity of support for their position.
We'll accept your point of order and we'll put a paper through to the next meeting if we could please.
Thank you.
Item 7.1, we've got the Local Traffic Committee minutes. The recommendation is that Council adopt the following recommendations from the Local Traffic Committee meeting held on the 14th of November 2024, and that Council approve the application made by Wild to Wild Rod and Custom Club to hold the Mile to Wild Murray River Road Run 2025 and temporary road closure between 6 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. of Denelli Quinn Road, Crowley Street and Anzac Avenue, Tocumwal, subject to receiving a current certificate of currency for public liability, and that Council note that Transport for New South Wales has undertaken a comprehensive review of the speed zones on both Murray Street and Racecourse Road, Tocumwal, including attending and conducting a site inspection with Council officers. The advice of Council officers and feedback from police was given careful consideration in conducting the review. That's not part of the recommendation, so I'm not reading that part
That's fair
out. Do we have a mover? Councillor Stringer, a seconder. Councillor Payne. All in favour? Thank you, carried. All right, we have for information item 8.1. So that's councillor requests. Any questions or comments in relation to that? No? All right. 8.2, the complaint management policy. We have a recommendation that Council adopt the complaint management policy attached to this report. Do we have a mover?
Yep.
Get Councillor Natikoa, a seconder. Councillor Brooker, any questions or comments? I thought it was very well done, so please congratulate the team. I did have a query in relation to section 6.81, which talks about seeking legal advice, and it says that Council will consider the nature of complaint and seek legal advice, which effectively binds us on seeking legal advice. So I'd propose suggesting that that's changed to may.
Yep, perfect. Thank you. That was her very first time at writing a policy, so she's done a remarkable
No, very good job, and I'm pleased the unreasonable complainant or managing unreasonable complainant conduct has been around forever, back in the day when I was taking complaints on the phone. So it's very good guidance material that's mentioned in there. So any other comments? Are we all in favour? Thank you, carried. All right. Asset management policy. The recommendation is that Council revoke its asset management policy adopted on the 15th of April 2020 and adopt the asset management policy attached as an appendix to this report. Do we have a mover?
Yep.
Councillor Natikoa, a seconder. Councillor Payne, any questions or comments? No? Okay. All in favour? Thank you, carried. All right. Should this screen be on?
No, because Keelan isn't able to take minutes today.
All right. Item 8.4, we have the investment policy. We have a recommendation that Council revoke its investment policy adopted on 15 November 2023, adopt the investment policy excluding the local economic benefit clause, and note the investment guidelines attached. Do we have a mover? Councillor Brooker, a seconder. Councillor Stringer, any questions or comments? No, all in favour? Yep, thank you,
Yep.
carried. All right. 8.5, the recommendation is that council revoke the asset accounting policy adopted on the 19th of November 2024. Do we have a mover?
Should that be 2020?
Yes, it should be.
Okay, thank you. Good pickup. Adopted 19 November 2020. Do we have a mover?
Yep.
Councillor Natikoa, a seconder. Don't all jump up at once. Councillor Booker, any questions or comments? No? All right, all in favour?
Yep.
Thank you, carried. 8.6, we have a recommendation that council revoke the following policies: the library service collection development, the library service overdue, lost and damaged library materials, and the library service patron code of conduct. Do we have a mover? Councillor Payne, a seconder. Councillor Hannon, any questions or comments?
Yep. Just with this one, these are just being revoked because we now fall under the RRL and their policies.
That's correct. Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? No? Okay, all in favour? Thank you, carried. 8.7, we have the Code of Meeting Practice. The recommendation is that council adopt as a draft the Berrigan Shire Council Code of Meeting Practice as attached to this report, and place on public exhibition this draft Code of Meeting Practice with feedback to be presented along with a finalised draft document at the January Ordinary Council meeting for adoption. Do we have a mover? Councillor Brooker, a seconder. Councillor Stringer. Any questions or comments?
I did receive some questions prior to the meeting, which I think are valid, and I'll just go through those just for clarity for
Councillor
everybody.
Healy?
From Councillor Healy, yeah.
Yep.
So clauses 33 to 38 are about pre-briefing meetings. We haven't had them for a long time, so we removed them anyway. But they will be removed from the new code of conduct because the minister refuses to allow them, which is fine.
Meeting practice.
Yeah, from the code of meeting
Meeting
practice.
practice.
Yes, sorry. Section 4, we haven't adopted this with previous councils. It's about holding a public forum prior to the council meetings, but it's a very structured public forum. It's not the one that we offer, which is a bit easier for people to access and able to make their own comments. So council had previously felt like that was actually a deterrent for people to engage with council because it's quite strict.
So just, if I could.
Yes.
Sorry.
No,
CEO.
you're right.
So our briefings happen before the meeting. They're not actually part of the meeting. Sorry, not our briefings, our
Question time.
question time. The forums, if they're adopted, are actually formally part of the meeting. And if someone wants to speak at council during the meeting, then they need to fill out a declaration of political donations, et cetera, before they speak.
Yeah, it makes it quite onerous on them. 1710, we can include that rescission if you like, but it's specifically about planning matters. We've tended to manage all rescission queries the same way. This puts a specific requirement on the planning matters. And 2024 was removed because we don't have committees of council anymore, so there's not like a committee of roads or something like that. So we've just taken that out because we don't have committees of council.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? No? Most of that was what we've discussed previously.
Yep.
Okay, all in favour of the recommendation? Thank you, carried. Okay, 8.8, the Information Guide 24-25. The recommendation is that council, pursuant to section 21 of the Government Information Public Access Act 2009, adopt the Berrigan Shire Council Information Guide attached as Appendix 1. Do we have a mover? Councillor Payne? Seconder? Yep. Councillor Brooker? Any comments?
Again, there was one comment received. Sorry, I've let Councillor Healy's stuff in because it was actually an emergent matter that she couldn't attend to for today, but she just asked some things. And one of them was to include in our information guide, because we've got reference to European settlement, that it might be relevant to include information about our traditional owners, and that would align with our reconciliation action plan. So that's up to you. If you would like to amend that motion to include that, we can do that.
So,
Mover and seconder happy with that?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, anyone else? All right, all in favour? Thank you, carried. All right, 8.9, endorsement of the community strategic plan. The recommendation is that council, noting the relevant engagement report, endorse Berrigan Shire 2040. Attached to this report is Berrigan Shire Council's community strategic plan. Do we have a mover? Councillor Stringer, a seconder?
Yep.
Councillor Natikoa, thank you. Any comments? No? Okay, all in favour? Thank you, carried. Moving right along. Okay, 8.10, the annual State of the Shire Report, 23-24. The recommendation is council adopt the attached integrated annual report and State of the Shire Report for publication, noting the 30 November 2024 deadline. Do we have a mover?
Yep.
Councillor Natikoa, a seconder. Councillor Brooker, any comments?
I've went through, with my proofreading eyes, I've picked up a few spelling mistakes in that. Do you want me to just send that over in an email, the 3 errors that I found?
Yes, please, that would be appreciated.
Not a problem.
And it is subject to final edit.
Yeah, that's
isn't
right.
it?
Yep.
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 Anyone else? No? Okay, all in favour? Thank you,
Yep.
carried. 8.11, we have the operational plan review for Q1 24-25. The recommendation is that you receive and note the Q1 report on actions identified in the 24-25 operational plan. Do we have a mover? Councillor Stringer, a seconder.
Yep.
Councillor Natikoa, any questions or comments?
If I could, we've gone from 181 items that we're reporting to council in 23-24 down to 82. 82 is probably still at the high end, but it's a significant improvement. Hopefully, makes it a lot easier for councillors to keep track on what's important.
And well done on the 75 of those 82 are completed or on target, which is very good. Please
Yep.
pass on to everybody. Anyone else?
Yeah, I thought it was impressive that there was only 1 that wasn't on target
Yeah.
out of those items, and 6 that were either deferred or not due to start. So I thought that was pretty impressive across the board.
Yep.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All in favour of that recommendation? Thank you, carried. 8.12 is for information only. It's about electoral funding obligations. Does anyone have any questions or comments around that one? Yep, okay. Sorry.
Make a comment if I could, just the importance of making sure that you fill them in on time, as you will end up in court if you don't.
Yeah, as is the experience of a council quite close to us.
Unfortunate experience, yeah.
8.13, section 355, committees of management. The recommendation is that council A, revoke the existing members of the section 355 committees of management, and pursuant to section 355 of the LGA 1993, appoint the persons defined in this report to the relevant section 355 committee. Do we have a mover? Councillor Brooker, a seconder. Councillor
Yep.
Payne. Any questions or comments?
Yes, just one. The secretary for the Finley Showgrounds community is Matt Mueller, Mueller.
Yep.
I believe that surname was picked up on the last list of 355 committee members as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
All in favour of that recommendation? Thank you, carried. 8.14, delegations to committees. The recommendation is that council revoke all existing delegations made to its volunteer committees of council established under section 355 of the LGA 1993 and make delegations to its volunteer committees of management as attached to this report. Do we have a mover?
Yep.
Councillor Natikoa, second to Councillor Payne. Any questions or comments?
Look, just another typo under the template section. It should be proposed, not proposers template.
Anyone else? No. Okay, all in favour? Thank you,
Yep.
carried. Scroll through.
Oh, sorry, also just on that, the Finley War Memorial Swimming Pool Committee is actually listed as the Finley War Memorial School of Arts.
There's an arrow
On
there.
on page 70.
Okay, thank you. We're up to 8:15, volunteer committees annual returns. The recommendation is that council note the annual returns submitted by the volunteer committees of management listed from A to S. I'm not going to read them all. Do we have a mover?
Yep.
Councillor Natikoa, seconder. Councillor Hannan. Any questions or comments? Councillor Hannan?
I'd like to comment if I could.
Sure.
With your asset management review, Director of Planning, sorry, just concerns around the fact that our rec reserves outside of Tokemall have under $10,000 in their account, and we need to do, I've been barring on about this for a while, that we're going to need to do some significant painting and at these facilities, and they don't seem to have a lot. They seem to turn over a lot of money, but they don't seem to be able to harness any of that. So first question to you there about, where are we at with that? And the second one was, Director of Corporate Services, I believe that at a meeting earlier in the year that we were discussing the fact around taking ownership of some of the finances of these committees and maybe taking away their rate contribution and stuff like that. Where are we up to with that?
Through you, Mayor. So we're hoping to come to council and actually put forward the maintenance plan for all of council's assets to identify what works, including painting and the like, might take place at the recreation reserves. We've also drafted new terms and guidelines, and an ultimate aim that I would like to get towards is actually ensuring that we determine appropriate user fee charges. So the user fees don't just cover electricity bills and the other things, but they also start allocating money towards maintenance. So that's the ultimate step we'd like to get to. Some of it's started to be addressed within the guidelines, but those draft guidelines haven't yet been provided to the committees for feedback.
So in the shape of like a sinking fund or something like that, or?
Just ensuring that they're actually collecting enough from the user fees to cover some basic maintenance, and then we align that with our maintenance plan, so then the cost burden isn't necessarily always passed on to council that some of the users pay.
And yeah, well, we know that in our asset value, they're our biggest facilities realistically, and I don't think much maintenance has been done to them since they were built, to tell you the truth.
Very little maintenance. So the last plan, even though council agreed to increase the maintenance budget, by the time you take out the allocation that you have to do for spraying, pests and those sort of things, it basically means there's about $40,000 to be spent collectively in each of our towns. So you can see that really the gap is growing, which is why, again, we'd be coming to council with a new maintenance plan to identify that we need to allocate greater resources and funding towards that.
Through you, Mayor. So we have notified all of the recreation reserves and swimming pools that in lieu of increasing their annual grant that we give them, we are covering their rates. If any of the committees had already paid their rates, we reimburse them. We're also covering the sanitary bins if they have them, and also the collection of their rubbish.
So when the terms of reference come out, then there may well be an opportunity for us to discuss a partnership in that maintenance budget. Because I don't think they're going to be able to handle it on their own.
Agreed. We'd also try to see if we could put a minimum dollar amount, so what works might be undertaken by certain committees without necessarily asking council, and then what works council might cover. The other thing that we want to do within the terms and the guidelines that you will see, and so will the committees, is actually identify that we need to start working towards grant opportunities as well. So if we actually have all of the terms, guidelines, master plans in some instances and designs done, then we can actually get shovel ready and apply for grant opportunities as well, which should help reduce the gap.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? No, all in favour of the recommendation?
Yep.
Thank you, carried.
So who was it mover and seconder?
Who was the mover and seconder?
Sorry.
You don't see?
Yeah.
Apologies.
Didn't get it from the video.
Yeah.
8:16, actions from previous meetings, that council receive and note this report is the recommendation. Do we have a mover?
Yep.
Councillor Natikoa, a seconder. Councillor Brooker, any comments?
I do have one. I just,
Hannon?
is it 8:16, sorry, 8:16, I believe, that says the motion's lapsed around time, meeting times? What's the issue, what's the go there, Deputy CEO?
I think that's just pulled through into the actions incorrectly. I thought I deleted that, because I did see that.
Because it's got resolve, and then it's got lapsed.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you, at the last meeting, not to go into too much detail, at the last meeting, you had the code of meeting practice and the meeting times in the same resolution. You decided not to adopt the code of meeting practice and then adopt your meeting times separately. I don't know why that's pulled through. I did see that, and I thought I'd actually deleted it out of the report that went to council. It's another info council,
Anomaly that we're trying
Glitch.
to work through.
Okay.
So it hasn't lapsed, so that's fine.
The first part lapsed.
Yeah, but
And then the second part didn't, yeah.
that's
No,
correct.
it's,
Yeah.
yeah.
I do have a few questions. Sorry. Page 88 of our papers, the first item there has a whole lot of notes that are not relevant to the action. So I think probably that can be removed or something happened to it so we don't need to read it every month.
So this, anyway,
Sorry, yep.
this report is what we use to manage manage these actions internally, and it comes straight out of the system. What I can do though is, as we print the report, is go through and literally pull lines.
Yeah,
out
that
of it.
one looked wrong, so, yeah.
Sorry?
The action is different to what's been reported underneath. There's a reference to the LEP.
I think it may have been like a number of, you know, when it's.
That's what
yeah,
that is from, yes.
Yeah, it's been a number of actions.
That's
and
one of the old action items that Karina brought through to council, CEO, pardon me, brought through to council very, very early on in her term.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can probably just take that one out.
Okay, I'm just scrolling on. I'm on page 93, and it is, 92 and 93, it's OCM 11324. It's about Finley Log Cabin Museum and Mary Lawson Wayside Rest Committee. It was the last update, the 10th of July, and then it was reassigned in October. Do we have any updates?
That's on the Log Cabin Museum and Mary Lawson Wayside Rest.
Incorporated.
Are moving them to a committee,
An incorporated association.
So we are supposed to be updating every month what's happened. Effectively, we haven't had an update other than an assignment since July. So can we do that for next meeting? Also, no update on page 93 for OCM 120-24 for November. Just, you can take all these on notice.
Yep.
The minutes are now on page 96, 97, which was the recommendation about local traffic committee from the October meeting, 210-224. We never received those minutes. And I think that's it. Anyone else? Any other comments?
Oh, yes, yep.
All right, so all in favour of the recommendation?
Yep.
Thank you, carried. 8:17 is correspondence, and that's for information only. Any questions or comments about that? No, okay. 8:18 is development determinations for the month of October. The recommendation is to receive and note this report. Do we have a mover? Councillor
Yep.
Brooker, seconder Councillor Natikoa. Any questions or comments?
I'd just like to note that the average day's assessment is making a downward trend, which is encouraging and getting closer to the statutory obligation, which is good work by the planning department. And sure they're
All in favour of the recommendation? Thank you,
Yep.
carried. All right, 8:19, we've got the CCTV cameras in public areas. The recommendation is that council delay the installation of CCTV systems in public places for a period of 2 years and review this decision in November 2026. Do we have a mover? Councillor Hannan, a seconder.
Yep.
Councillor Natikoa. Okay. Any questions or comments on this matter?
Why are we
Yeah,
doing it? Oh, sorry, you go first.
Councillor Natikoa?
Just wanting to confirm, is the annual cost $3,600 per site or 36,000? It references both.
Huh?
So on page 112, it references 3,600 per site. And then further down on page 113, it says to operate and maintain the cameras at these sites will be $36,000.
Different sites,
10
Councillor
sites.
Natikoa, sorry. The first one refers
Okay.
to 3,600 per site. And
Yep.
down that is, the 36,000 relates to rollout of CCT systems at our water treatment plants and the main depot at Berrigan. So that's 10 cameras.
Okay, that's 10 cameras. Thank
at
you.
each of those 5
Just-
sites.
Thank you.
Now, council staff are proceeding with putting those cameras in those sites because they're not covered by the the policy that is referred to in the report. So we can go ahead and do that. Here, as I say, the only issue is council's adopted a policy on cameras and we haven't addressed the items in the policy, but that's a matter for councillors.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Stringer?
I'm just wondering about the delay. Why?
Right, through you, Mayor. The delay is literally because council has adopted a policy that says we won't install cameras until we do an audit, develop a crime strategy, et cetera, all of which will take time considering we don't have any staff dedicated to do that work directly. That said, council can install cameras and revoke the policy if you choose, but it's not for council, for me, or staff as officers to go to work contrary to a council policy at a
Okay. Councillor Stringer, anything?
Yeah, I just, crime's getting worse, not better. So, delaying it 2 years, I think, is not the way to go.
Is there an option to put a review in there in 12 months to see how we're going with those
Yeah.
policies? Yeah.
Review it in 12 months instead of 2 years.
So,
We
Not
would
implement, but
have to
review.
we'd have to fund the development of do all of that work in a year. I've not got, like I said, not got staff dedicated to it, so we'd either have to pull someone off what they normally do, or we'd have to put someone in to do that, so.
yeah, page 114 is the work that our policy says that we should do before we install cameras, and that is partner with police to see how it fits into our broader crime prevention strategy. Then we would need to do the audit, which is clause 6.3, and then 6.4 is our evaluation framework. Now, this is what is in council's adopted policy. So, again, we can do all that work. We just would need to identify who is going to do that work and how we're going to get it done.
If I could make a comment, I think it makes sense to work with the police and other bodies in the community to actually, because we obviously have I take Councillor Stringer's point that crime is increasing, across Australia. I'm not 100% sure that we might be reactive to what happens from what gets vandalised to us, but I'm sure the police and other, businesses in the community would have a better understanding of where the hot spots may well be, so that we could get the best value for installing these such items. Are they hard figures on $3,600 per
That's from a quote.
an installation price? But we
No,
haven't.
that's a monitoring price.
That's the
That's a-
annual price for monitoring.
Monitoring
Per
and maintenance
site.
of the cameras, yeah.
Yeah.
Councillor Natikoa?
Just the policy that you're referring to was obviously adopted by the previous council, or was that one of the ones?
No, it hasn't, this council has not seen this policy.
Okay, thank you. I didn't think we had, I just wanted to confirm.
It was adopted in 2022.
There's been a lot of information come through.
I have to say, with the issues that we've had around Baruga, specifically at the Adventure Park and the vandalism, I really feel that we need to have something there. The proximity to licensed liquor venues in the vicinity, I won't name names, and it does appear to me, I have to say, on nearly every Sunday morning as I walk past there, that someone has left a licensed liquor venue and decided to do something along that pathway. So if we had that, if we have the cameras working and we had a, pardon the expression, bloody big sign saying they're working, it might actually stop that vandalism. And frankly, glass in a child's playground is unacceptable. So I would really like to see a camera there. I get that we've got an issue with our policies, but I'd really like to see a plan for this to be moved forward and move forward quickly.
We can bring the policy back for review, so we can make it fast, or you can just choose to put cameras in. Those are your two options, I guess.
Or you can do the work that the policy says you're going to do. So you get three options. One, you either knuckle down and fund, when I say knuckle down,
Us.
as a council, fund and resource the development of your crime strategy and your audits and everything you said in your policy. That's option one. Get that done as soon as you can, again, subject to resources. Number two is you basically go contrary to your policy, which you're allowed to do. It's just not something that I would recommend, given we've got a policy in place, but you can. And there's a proposed resolution there that says, you know, do that and then bring the policy back for review.
Yep.
Or three, you can bring the policy back for review and streamline the whole process.
Yep. Could I suggest we bring the policy back for review, but we timestamp some of those actions so that we will conduct this review by such and such a date? So it's the same policy effectively, but it says we will do these things at, you know, by 30 June or by whatever date.
Well, that's policy sort of, the overall document says how we discuss each item. I think what you're looking for is an implementation plan.
No, I'm trying to work us through the issue of acting contrary to our policy. So getting the policy so that the actions in the policy of what we will do, it will put some timing around that. So we will do that within 6 months of deployment of a camera or something. Some of the actions in the policy. That's what I'm suggesting. So that means then we're not acting contrary to our policy if, as a council, we determine we wish to put a camera at one or more of those venues. Does that make sense?
Yep. Sorry, through you, we can bring that back, but we'll probably have to bring it back with a resourcing strategy as well, because it's not something that's on anyone's desk at the moment. So it's not assigned to a human being. So we would have to bring back that as well.
Yep.
Can I just make a further comment? When we install these and we monitor them, then what do we do with the, if we do, because if we do see vandalism or we do see, you know, people committing a crime, what do we then do with it, and what can we do with it? Because all due respect, the Baruga Adventure Park, the police station's directly opposite it.
Yeah, I know.
And if they don't hear any unruly behaviour, and it's a manned house there as well, isn't it? I believe is somebody live in the house at the
Yes.
police station? So
There is now, yeah.
what are we actually going to do with the vision? Will it stand up in a court of law? Will it be able to prosecute offenders, or is it just a deterrent that we're going to spend money on? Is
So,
that-
through you again, Mayor, if I could. Again, this is some of the stuff that the policy says we need to address, is exactly the items you've said, you know. Is this going to be an effective solution before we install? In terms of the data, well, what happens, we will not be actually storing the data ourselves. Our monitoring, the company that monitors them will store it. If we have an incident, we go back to the company that monitors it, and they will find the relevant video, and obviously it will depend on the quality of the video, and what's in there is how the police will propose to use it. But what you're saying in terms of what happens in terms of how the liaison with the police, etc., goes, is some of the work that the policy says we will do before we'll put them in.
Look, and
We wouldn't normally access Vision unless there was a crime reported.
No,
There's no reason for us to
No
go
one's
in.
I
sitting there
understand,
monitoring these
that,
cameras
but if
24
there's
hours.
vandalism at the site and there's unruly behaviour, then obviously the vision will be whatever. But it might be worth our while to erect fencing around the facility as opposed to putting, well, you can have a look at like that, but what I'm saying is that over a long period of time, if the actual monitoring of the site, if you have a look at all schools throughout New South Wales, they have put fencing around their facilities, they have not installed cameras, because the deterrent is that I don't know what the camera actually proves, but if you actually proof the actual site, then, and maybe we can put a time in, time out on the actual, and then people have got to, you know, they've got to climb fences or whatever to do that sort of stuff. I just think that, you know, going and installing cameras tomorrow isn't going to be the be end and all fixing what we're trying to achieve here.
Through you, I just wanted to highlight as well, we don't have any budget allocation for any of these cameras in public spaces.
Councillor Natikawa?
Now, the Director of Corporate Deputy CEO. Sorry. Did you say that the policy was brought to council in 2022?
That's correct. It's linked to in the report if you'd like to read it directly.
Yep. So since that policy has actually been come to council and been approved, has any of the work been started to start these processes with the police or any of that sort of thing?
No.
Okay, thank
It's
you.
not been resourced, no.
We have
Yep.
met with police and they have asked for the CCTV vision, but we don't have it.
Yep. Thank you.
All right. So what shall we do? Do our mover or seconder want to change the recommendation?
I think there needs to be some further work done around it, and if we're going to resource it, then the resource strategy should come back.
Yeah.
We are talking about, you know, cost of living crisis, and we've got some serious decisions to make later on in the agenda, and I don't think that just, you know, throwing good after bad is a position that we need to be in going forward for the next 4 years.
Yeah. So could we have an alternative where we have the policy and a resourcing strategy brought back to council in January?
Yeah.
And a further discussion in relation to the timing of installations and potential budget?
You can. At the moment, you've got a motion on the books which you need to consider, which can go to the vote and lapse or be voted down if you choose. And
Yep.
once that's done, you
Yep.
certainly yourself or someone else, Mayor Julia, can foreshadow an alternate motion.
Well, I'll foreshadow that and we'll put what we've already got to a vote then. So, sorry, councillor.
Would you take an amendment?
Yeah.
Yep. So if we amend, or even if we add point 3, that,
Sorry.
sorry, well, we're not going to, even
What
if
the
we add a
foreshadow
point 3,
says.
that a resourcing strategy with a budget,
So are we gonna, you want the foreshadowed?
Yeah. So I didn't get the full details of the foreshadowed motion. Sorry, Mayor Julia. Can I get that?
Okay. That at the January meeting, you bring back the policy, now I've got to remember it,
A
Apologies.
resourcing
a
strategy
resourcing strategy,
and a budget.
budget, and potentially the question as to the timing of further installations.
Implementation plan.
Yep. Have you got,
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, I've got that. Thank you. That's the foreshadowed motion.
sorry, councillor Hannan?
it was just going to be the same as as the amendment.
The same as an amendment.
I think the amendment.
it's something different?
It's almost inconsistent with the original
Okay.
motion, so I think it's
Oh.
probably best to put this to the vote and then move on to your foreshadowed.
Okay, all right. So what we have already got a mover and seconder, is delay the installation of CCTV systems in public place for a period of 2 years and review the decision November 2026. So we'll put that to a vote. So be clear, please put your hands up if you are in favour. Okay, we have no one, so that has lapsed.
Now you can move to your foreshadowed motion.
Now, the foreshadowed motion that, yet again, I'm going to need to remember is...
Okay, so it's,
Policy,
it is.
resource
Yeah.
and strategy, budget.
So it's, the foreshadowed motion is direct the CEO to bring forward to the January ordinary meeting a review of the CCTV cameras policy, a resourcing strategy for the development of the items identified in that policy, and a timeframe for implementation.
Budget.
Well,
Budget.
budget is in the resourcing strategy, I would
Okay.
have thought.
Okay.
Okay, all right. So all in favour of that?
Sorry, mover and a seconder. It's
Mover,
foreshadowed,
sorry.
I still need mover and seconder.
Okay, move. Councillor
Yep.
Payne, second, Councillor Stringer. All right, all in favour of that? Thank you, carried. Good work, everyone. We got there. Oh, I'm the mover.
Yes, of course you are. Of course you are.
Okay, 8:20, power purchasing agreement. This is for information only. Anyone got any questions on this one or comments?
Sorry, just one little comment. It is actually a big deal for council. We've managed to save quite a bit of money, and we are at 100% renewables. And
Or our large sites.
for our large sites, yeah. So I think that's a pretty good outcome.
Yep. Okay, thank you. For those watching at home, there are 2 items that did not make it through to our agenda as councillors, and I have not admitted those for today's meeting. They will be at the 4th of December meeting. We do have some inconsistency in numbers here. I don't know what's going on. I have at 8:22 finance accounts for October.
Well, that
Yes,
is the warrant
which is-
report.
That is the warrant report. So it's not listed, it's not come up here in the agenda, but it's actually
is
in the
here.
agenda. Yes.
Right, okay, so there is one item that will now come to the December meeting, and 8/20/22 is as stands. Thank you, everyone. Finance, the accounts for October. The recommendation is that council receive the financial statement, bank reconciliation certificate and petty cash book made up to 31 October 2024, and we confirm the accounts paid as per warrant number 10-24 totalling $8,861,200.42, and note the report on investments attached. Do we have a mover? Councillor Brooker, seconder. Councillor Payne, any questions or comments? Okay, all in favour? Oh, did you have something? Sorry, Councillor Natakawa?
No, just looking at Catherine's questions.
Oh,
She's referencing 822.
yes.
She's got a question in there. Sorry.
Which is that the investments have actually increased, and I wasn't really, 822, she asked why the investments had decreased, but they've actually
Yep.
increased.
Increased? Okay. That's right. I just seen it as one of her question points.
Councillor Payne, did you have something?
Sorry if I may, through you, which one was our loan that updated the Shire offices and the technology?
Through you, Mayor, we haven't drawn down on that loan as yet. So it's not in there.
Okay. All in favour of the recommendation?
Yep.
Thank you, carried. We're up to 8:23, which is our July to September quarterly budget review. The recommendation is that we note the first quarterly review of the 24-25 budget and vote the funds contained therein as shown in Appendix 1, and that we note the September quarterly budget review statement attached as Appendix 2. Do we have a mover?
Yep.
Councillor Natikoa, a seconder. Councillor Payne, any questions or comments? I do have a question. On page 128, the RFS contribution to Federation Council. Can you tell me what that's about?
Yep, so through you, Mayor. So what happened is when I first started at council, there was no budget allocation for, I'll start at the start actually. What Federation does for Berrigan is they essentially are the hub and they get all of our bills. So that includes insurance, registration, maintenance, anything related to RFS, and they pay them on our behalf. They then send us a bill, which they did not do for 5 years. When I started at council, there was no budget allocation to that expense, so I never picked up that anything was missing. We then got 5 years of bills at one point in time. I negotiated with Federation Council. Obviously, we didn't have a budget allocation for that money to pay all at once, was nearly $500,000. So we paid the current year that was due, and I asked them, which I haven't actually received a response back yet, but I'll take silence as acceptance, that we would then pay them, off the top of my head, I think it was about $150,000 a year until that was paid back.
And that is recently that this has happened?
Yes, yes.
Can we have a report on that matter brought to council? It's a lot of money.
Sure. You want a report which shows the expenses that Federation is paying for?
And what's happened with the 5-year delay and how that impacts on our overarching budget?
Yep.
I think that's pretty, it's not an insignificant amount of money.
Yep, can do.
Thank you. Anyone, any other comments? Okay. All in favour of...
Councillor Healy had another question. I know you've answered them, Karina.
Yep. What's the question?
She said, is there an explanation for the 350,000K increase in staff costs and the insurance and 94K libraries of staff costs? So, as I've said in the thing, the increase in staff was due to not having the salary policy adopted before 1 July, which the finance team then couldn't build a budget that was accurate. So we've updated it in the September quarter, but it also takes into account the revised org structure and some step increases that will occur during the financial year.
Just to clarify, some of the revised forward structure that we're planning on putting on in this financial year.
Yeah.
Not the whole lot.
And the 94K in library salaries was the move to regional libraries. We needed to cover some costs for extra casuals because the library manager used to work at Berrigan fairly regularly, and but the manager was removed. So it's high level. We can show you the detail if you want, but it doesn't. It's
So through you, Mayor, previously we used to bring a line item detail to council that showed every under and over, which was a 10% variance. We were given the feedback that that was too much detail, so now we only bring in a high level. So the variance is included within that report on page 128. Generally, will include a number of items. We're just highlighting in the commentary the main variances. So it's not those variances, there will be other bits and pieces in there as well.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Any other questions or comments? All in favour of the recommendation? Thank you,
Yep.
carried. We're at 8:24, corporate workshop outcomes. The recommendation is that council receive and note this report and actions to come from them. Do we have a mover? Councillor
Yep.
Stringer, seconder Councillor Natikoa, thank you. Any questions or comments? No? All in favour of...
Well, sorry, will these actions come back on the action report?
We'll make an
Next
attempt to
month?
make them separate. I'm not sure how it's going to go, but yes, they'll be things
Okay.
that we'll follow up along the way. Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Payne?
I'd just like to apologise for not being able to make it. I enjoy our little team gatherings.
Well, sometimes you can't organise children's sick days around what the rest of the world is doing.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. All right, all in favour of the recommendation? Thank you,
Yep.
carried. 8:25, we have the risk appetite and strategic risk statements. The recommendation is that council revoke the risk appetite statements adopted on the 20th of April 2022 and adopt the risk appetite and strategic risk statements included in the appendices. We have a mover. Councillor Brooker, a seconder. Councillor Stringer? Any questions or comments?
I was trying to find the risk management framework. When I clicked on the links in the agenda, it just comes up with a page not found.
Yep.
I'll send that out to you. So you've all
Thank
you
you.
all need a copy of it anyway. So I'll send it out to
Yep.
you.
Okay,
Thanks, Karina.
anyone else? Okay, all in favour of the recommendation?
Yep.
Thank you, carried. All right, 8.26, we've got the organisational structure. The recommendation is that council endorse the organisational structure as per the requirements of sections 332 and 333 of the Local Government Act 1993 and adopt a budget of 9.4 million to support the delivery of services as aligned to the organisational structure presented. Do we have a mover? Councillor Stringer, a seconder. Councillor Brooker. Any questions or comments?
Only the one from that I was asked this morning. So that $535,000 you won't notice in the budget. I'm just being honest. So we're going to move it from what we would normally do as scheduled overtime so that we can develop some other working arrangements for some of our staff. So the only overtime we would expect to see, there will be some amount of scheduled overtime for things like cleaning toilets on weekends because that has to continue. But the only other overtime we would expect to see from the team in the future will be things like when pipes burst at 2 o'clock in the morning because I can't help that. So, yeah.
I have a question. So in the last 3 years, we've been hit with a significant amount of emergencies across the country, let alone the Berwick Shire. And in that statement you just said there, there's no provision for floods, road tragedies, emergencies, fire, any of those things that would consume overtime. How can an assumption be that amount of overtime will not be concurrent going forward?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that we know that there is an amount that goes to a particular, some staff because it's scheduled maintenance, it's scheduled overtime that happens every weekend, every Saturday, every Sunday, every week. So I want to remove, if I can, in consultation with the staff, I want to be able to remove that scheduled maintenance, and that's the cost, the amount that costs, that scheduled overtime. So I'm not saying that if we have a bushfire or something like that we won't have overtime. We absolutely will. But usually in natural disasters, we can also reclaim some of that money.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, I appreciate that and understand that. But what I'm saying is you're asking us to increase the organisational structure by $500,000.
The budget for it, yeah.
Correct. In the midst of a cost of living crisis across the whole Shire, and we've just increased the rates by 4.5% and probably will increase them again by 4.7% in the next term. How we propose to fund that going forward?
This is money you are already paying. I'm just moving it from one line item, I suppose, to another. If we don't do this, that's fine, but we will continue to have that sort of overtime budget every year. Because it's scheduled, it's stuff that has to happen. They have to monitor water plants. They have to attend to sewer plants. There's work that must be done on a weekend. So what I'm trying to do is change the way we do our normal work so that we can manage that much more closely. That's the intention. But like I said, you won't really see it in the budget as much. I'm just moving it from one point to another. It was just me being very honest about how I was doing that.
Because it's changing the structure of the actual work week for those.
Yes,
staff.
No,
yeah.
Appreciate that, but it's also creating extra positions for people to do that. Is that correct?
No, I'd probably be paying the people who are already doing it a wage that is competitive in the market, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
Because if we change the structure of the way they work, then we have to apply a better off overall test, which will include things like the overtime that they would normally receive. If you're putting a person on a salary that involves shift work, that's part of the requirements of the Fair Work Act anyway, or the Industrial Relations Act. You must make sure that includes what they would normally have earned. So it's really just, it's moving it around, but it is making sure that we are much more efficient in the way we use those staff.
So can you just explain a little bit further around the around, sorry, just to go back, around the, so the total management for FTE in the structure offered will therefore be 7.6. So is that's 7.6 on top of what we're already offering? No?
No, what we're saying is that a lot of the managers you have in place, or we have in place, don't do hardly any management actual jobs. They're actually on ground. So we've got our assets and engineering manager who goes out at about 60% of his time or more. I think it's even up to 80% at some times, doing subdivision inspections. So that because we don't have anyone else to do it. So what although the management looks like there's quite a lot of management in the system, there's only about 7.5 actual FTE that are doing any managing. So that's encompassed in the jobs that they're doing, but they're not doing management roles full time. And that was something from the workshop that council asked, because it looked like we had 20% management 20 managers looking after 100 people, but that's not actually true.
You know? All good?
Any other questions, comments? No? All in favour of the recommendation? Thank you, carried. I propose we have a 15-minute morning tea break and we'll return at 10:30.
Break.
Okay, welcome back to the meeting of 20 November. We're up to 8.27, Rural, Regional and Remote Health Reform Submission. The recommendation is that Council endorse the submission made to the Select Committee on Remote, Rural and Regional Health as presented, noting that approval is retrospective. Do we have a mover? Councillor Hannan, a seconder. Councillor Brooker, any comments or questions? Okay, all in favour? Thank you, carried. 8.28, we've got the Berrigan Shire Council Sustainability Report. The recommendation is that Council approve a period, not yet determined, for the CEO to work exclusively on the sustainability report, and that Council direction is sought as to reporting lines during this time. Do we have a mover? Councillor Hannan, a seconder, Councillor Stringer. Would you like to speak to this?
Yep,
CEO?
sorry. I've been really trying very hard to actually get to the sustainable. I've done heaps. Like, to be honest with you, there is a lot done. I would say it's about halfway there. And obviously some other work has come out of that, like the org structure and the service statements. But I can't just focus on writing. And I know when I actually get writing, it'll probably not be a huge amount of time, but I don't know how much time. The issue is that I get interrupted with things like meetings and making decisions and stuff like that. And then you have to go back and work out where you're up to. Or I might only get one day, 1 week, or half a day another week. And I did actually book out 2 days a week, but that has not been successful because I have the rest of my normal job to do. So I would really like to just, because I think it's a time critical piece of work, and I would really like to just have the time, and that's why I've sort of asked, like, we're closed over December, so even if you wanted me to work during that space of time, I could, just so I can focus and actually write, because I am just not getting to all of the work I need to do on that report. That's really the issue.
Yep.
Is that going to, sorry, through you, Mayor, is that going to be adequate amount of time for you to deliver that over Christmas? Like
Hello?
Oh, Simon, oh. is he-
Yeah, I've sent a message to Karina to say that the camera's still off. Oh, there we go.
No, okay, I can't hear Simon, but can you hear us now? Can you see us now?
flashing. You can
Sorry,
walk
I'm
in,
not
can't
sure
you?
what's going on here.
Well, it says we're live.
Yeah, we are live.
Yeah.
But just back to the original question, how,
Yep.
like, there's no time frame indicated. I think for.
I had
governments-
originally said probably 6 to 8 weeks that I can just get in and actually do it, but it could be closer than that. So it could be less than that once I actually start writing. I think that's
So-
I just honestly don't know.
So
I
would
just
we
need
be
to-
best to give you the month of December to do it and then revise it after that if there is need to be more time to be done? Just knowing that an open-ended
Yep.
Yeah.
doesn't really hold either of us to account.
No,
so to
I
speak.
know that. That's
Council
why
is,
I would always come back
still
earlier.
muted.
Yeah.
Councillors are muted apparently on the video. It's not.
Keelan's hearing everything, yeah, so I'm not sure.
Okay. Councillor Natikoa, can you hear me?
Apparently not.
Doesn't seem so. Okay, we'll
Might be
get someone onto that and we'll,
Sure she's not going to say no.
1, 2, we still core it, so we'll keep going. I'm inclined to say that take the 2 weeks during shutdown, because that'll relieve that situation where you end up having to wear multiple hats, and perhaps come back to us after that time to see where you're up to, so that we can work out next
Okay,
steps.
that's fine, yep,
So,
that's fine.
Bring the January meeting, just tell us with an update.
Yep. I can even show you the draft report and where it's up to at that point. You don't really want to read it
I've
twice.
read it.
Yeah.
Just want to read it once. I don't blame you,
Yeah.
but yeah, I do really need to honestly have time that I can just focus without interruption. So I'll do it during that break, and I'll let you know where I'm up to.
Yeah. And even during January, when people are still not started things, you probably can focus more time onto that. Every day isn't as every day in January.
it will still come, so I can, unfortunately, I don't know what's coming.
Yeah.
But I won't be attending meetings and stuff like that. I can't, not these meetings so much, but other meetings, I'm just going to have to say I can't do them.
No, and I was going to say that, not that we have Ramjo in January, but some of those meetings, you could send someone else as your delegate
I'll have to.
to help with that. Okay, so,
So there was also mention in there around the Deputy CEO maybe acting in that period, was that correct?
If you like, yeah, but we don't have to. I could just delegate some of my functions to the Deputy CEO to do, or that's the thing.
You-
I don't know how you want to manage it.
You know yourself better than anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to be able to hands off for that period of time you've said? Pardon?
Not if I've got, not if I've got to make some of the decisions I generally make, like,
No. Well,
yeah.
I believe then for the 2 weeks of December, I think we probably should put the Deputy
We're
CEO.
closed during
Shut
those
down.
2
Oh,
weeks.
shut down, okay,
Yeah,
right.
yeah, so that's not so bad.
Working
It's
through
when
shutdown.
it's
Yeah.
working, so it's working after that.
so perhaps we, working through shutdown in January, come back to us
Yeah.
and we'll determine next steps.
No
So,
worries.
so sorry, the meeting in January will be on the 20th? Is that right?
22nd.
22nd, and when do you return to work?
Oh, the couple of weeks before that.
So what is it, the 3rd or the 6th?
Sorry, I just got to. Well, when everyone else returns to work, I'll still be working.
So there's still 2 weeks in there?
Yeah, it's still 2 weeks in there. The 11th to the 22nd. Oh, the 4th. Is it? Okay, no, the 11th to the 22nd. I can't remember what the shutdown dates are.
Through you. It's the 20th, where council's closed from the 23rd of December and we reopen on Monday, the 6th of January.
Oh, perfect.
So there's still 14 days before that, before we would have a chance to make a decision around that. That's what I'm saying in January, so.
Oh, you mean that first 2 weeks of
Yeah.
January? Yeah. Okay. That Matt could do the acting.
Does that make sense, what I
Yeah.
just said?
So during shutdown, you'll work on it.
Yep.
And we're suggesting an additional 2 weeks.
Yep.
With the Deputy CEO in acting role for those 2 weeks only.
That's what I would say, if we want to achieve what Green's proposing to achieve.
All right, and then you come back to us on the 22nd and financially, that's not a lot.
Yep.
And we'll see how we go.
Perfect.
I
Hopefully
can't
I'll have
hear
it
you
done.
guys.
Sorry, I don't know what's going on. I think it's, I'll
just
email her. I think it's her computer.
I just remember said that.
So we will be, the move is approve the period of, what were those dates? 23rd of December till 22nd of January are the dates we're adding in there.
Yep.
Okay, and the mover and seconder are happy with that? All right. All in favour? Carried. Now, we've got a problem with councillor Natikoa cannot hear.
I'm just trying to text her.
It says that the Chamber's Teams is muted.
We can hear you.
Hang on. No, we don't want that.
There. That's probably better.
That's better.
Okay, apology for those following at home.
We're not very good at this technology
That's
stuff
right.
yet.
All right. 8:28, we've got the Berrigan Shire Council Sustainability Report. We've just done that. What am I doing?
Okay, so you've already covered off 8.27?
Yep.
Okay,
Yes.
that's right. I'll catch up on that on the live.
And we've done 8:28. So we're at 8:29.
Okay.
Delegation Performance Review Panel. The recommendation is that council rename the CEO Remuneration Committee appointed by resolution at its meeting on 18 September to the Performance Review Panel, consistent with the guidelines for appointment of oversight of general managers issued by the Office of Local Government, that we delegate the following functions to the Performance Review Panel, being the conduct of the CEO's performance reviews, report the findings and recommendations of reviews to the council, and development of the CEO's performance agreement, and we direct the CEO and the Performance Review Panel to develop agreed terms of reference for the panel. Do we have a mover?
Yep.
Councillor Natikoa, and a seconder?
Yep.
Councillor Payne. Any questions or comments? Procedural matter? Okay. All in favour? Carried. 8:30, the CEO Performance and Development Plan. The recommendation is that council adopt the CEO Performance and Development Plan as presented and receive and note the first quarter report on progress as presented. Do we have a mover? Councillor Stringer, a seconder? Councillor Payne? Would you like to say anything, CEO?
No, we'll just, I'll get that signed, the two of us signed now, and already made some pretty big inroads into most of that stuff. So, yeah, doing okay.
Okay, well done. All in favour? Thank you, carried. All right, we're up to item 9. We don't have any notice of motion or questions with notice. Item 10, we do not have any confidential matters. Item 11, motions without notice or questions without notice. Anyone have any? Councillor Hannan?
Yeah, I do. I sent an email on the 18th of November, and I understand people are busy, but in our rate notices, we got did we get a reminder in the rate notices, or was it on something about the contamination levels of our recycling and?
Facebook.
I was on Facebook, was it?
It might have been Facebook. We haven't had a chance to respond to about the contamination levels. We are looking at it internally, but I'll have a...
No, that's okay. So the question is it, can we get some clarity around the contamination rates by and what they're increasing by, and is it certain pockets of the community? And I know that we've done significant community engagement around this, but if there is certain pockets of the community or certain communities that are not quite understanding what can and can't, can we do some door knocking to provide that face-to-face information?
We don't have a staff member anymore who does the waste education.
No, I realise that,
Yeah.
but obviously we've got a lot of education, and maybe if we could resource something I just think it's something that, what's it going to cost us if our contamination rates continue to go up, and then what are the penalties we're going to incur from that, as opposed to having somebody that could spend a week going around door knocking people and just giving a brief 5-minute, whatever it is.
Keelan's just texted to say that we have actually done some door knocking already. So we'll just provide a report to council at either December or January, so we can have some actual data for you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. Anyone else with the questions without notice, motions without notice? Okay, councillor reports. So we'll kick off at 12.1 with my report. So 21 October, we had an extraordinary council meeting. 23 October, we had an online meeting with New South Wales Ambulance, and there will be another public meeting in the evening of 4th December at Tokemwell Recreation Reserve. We did ask for them to put together some collateral that was more targeted to a younger audience and with a bit more information rather than just posters. That has not been forthcoming thus far. On the 31st of October, we met the administrators from Moira Shire Council here and their CEO, and we specifically talked about the initiative that the dialysis initiative partnership with them in relation to trying to get some dialysis seats closer to home, and they were very keen, so that's good. We're putting together a business case. I mean, the fact is we have 0 seats in this shire, 0. It's atrocious. And I guess I'll just use this opportunity as a quick update. We have briefed Helen Dalton on this. She's going to brief the Minister. I'm still waiting on information from Victoria as to who's going to Shepparton, but I'm following up on that. We have a meeting on Friday with the people from Purple Truck in Alice Springs to talk about what it costs and how they set up the mobile units. And we have a meeting. We were in contact with the Big Red Kidney Bus, who do a dialysis bus, but they do it for holidays. So they go to different places annually for 3 months, I think, and then if people can go and have their holidays and still get the services. So they actually have a bus, the same sort of thing we want, and they have put me on to the person who arranges dialysis services in New South Wales, and we're meeting with her on Friday also. So we've got a lot of strands coming together, and in those 2 weeks you might need to write the business case as well.
Just something else.
Yeah. But once we've done that, Moira are going to speak to Tim McCurdy. And we're going to move to progress to the 2 health ministers. And back of my mind, we know that a lot of pollies turn up for the golf at Baruga in January. There's usually a meeting at lunch for the opening of the golf, and I was thinking that we might be able to hook onto that as an opportunity to get all these people in the room and talk about dialysis services. So that's just in the back of my mind, an idea that we should leverage having those people in town. So that was that. On the 31st of October, there was a meeting of the Mayoral Alliance for the Pacific Island Workers, and there was a repeat meeting actually yesterday for the Mayoral Alliance with Minister Conroy. It's interesting, we've had actually, compared to other councils, our situation is not bad at all, that we've had quite good experiences in our town. We've had the workers from JBS, for example, sing at our carols, and we're very popular in Baruga and participating in local sport. So that's been good. Our experience has been good. So I find our role in this has been probably more as an observer. Others have had other issues with absconding people and such, but it's a watching brief, and we'll keep engaged with that. On the 1st of November, we met with Brett Murphy in relation to the Digital Museum project, and I showed you the outcome of that at our workshop, strategic workshop. And yesterday we went to Finley High School and met with the students who worked with Brett on that project, and we've got a media release to go out about that very shortly. And that they were very excited. They didn't want to get in a photo, but they did. So.
They were a bit overwhelmed, and I think they were surprised at the skill sets and where they could be used in the future.
Yeah.
So just going through that with them, they were like, oh, I didn't realise that this project was kind of that important. So they are very overwhelmed, I think. Yeah.
Yep. On the 6th and 7th, we had our strategic planning days, and on the 8th of November, we had Ramjo in Hay. It was about half of them are new mayors, so it was about 50-50. And Councillor McRae from Murrumbidgee is the new chair of Ramjo. 12th of November, we had our development consultation meeting in Baruga in relation to an upcoming application that I believe is coming in December. Is that correct, Andrew?
It's planning.
Planning?
It's planned to come to that December report, yes.
Okay, thank you. 12th of November, Baruga Advancement Group. 13th November, we discussed the agenda for this meeting, and I've covered everything else. Do we have a mover for my report?
Yep.
Councillor Natikoa. Seconder, Councillor Payne. All in favour? Thank you. Carried. Councillor reports. Councillor Payne. Nothing. Councillor Hannan.
Just the development meeting and the corporate workshops.
Thank you. Councillor Stringer. No. Councillor Brooker.
Pretty boring as well, so same as yourself, the Baruga Advancement Group meeting, the consultation meeting in Baruga, Baruga Rec Reserve on the 6th of November, and Remembrance Day on the 11th.
Thank you for stepping in for me.
Too easy.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Do we need to move the council report? No, we just know. Oh, Councillor Natikoa, sorry. I got her on the table.
So just as an FYI, I've got the November minutes for the Finley Pool Committee. If I don't, as the delegate for that committee, I'm not sure if we need to pass them on or anything going forward.
Through you, Mayor, the pool committee can send those minutes directly to the recreation officer if they choose, and then they'll find their way into our system.
Okay, cool, not a problem. And then I also attended a Girl Guide Baden-Powell Peak Achievement Award on the 12th of November as a councillor.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. And also thank you to everyone who's put their hands up for the school presentations. I am taking a holiday from the 9th of December, so it's good that everyone else can cover it. Thank you.
It's presentation season, we get a lot of them, it's
Yeah.
actually really good.
So that concludes our meeting for today. The next ordinary council meeting will be held on Wednesday, 4th of December. This has got the wrong address. Here at 9 a.m. in the council chambers. There being no further business, I close the meeting at 10:50 a.m. Thank you.